Shalom uvracha. We'd like to study this evening Parshat Naso, the Torah section of our week. One of the unique characteristics is that Parshat Naso is actually the longest of all the Torah portions of the year. Perhaps not coincidentally, Parshat Naso is always read within a week of the great holiday of the giving of the Torah, the holiday of Shavuot, and could be maybe one of the ways to celebrate Torah is Yagdil Torah. We love more Torah. We'd like to increase the level of study of Torah, and therefore we study the longest Torah section, the week of Shavuot, Parshat Naso. The number of sentences, incidentally, is 176 sentences, the same number of sentences of the longest chapter of the entire Tanakh. Why is Parshat Naso so long? So anyone studying the 7th chapter will notice that there are more than 60 sentences listing the details of the contribution, of the dedication, offering of each of the leaders of the 12 tribes. 12 consecutive days, each leader of each tribe was given the opportunity to donate an offering, and the Torah lists each day the name of the leader, the name of the tribe, and the offering. What's unusual is it's exactly the same offering every single day. So that's why this is unparalleled, almost verbatim. The verbiage of 12 consecutive paragraphs of our Torah section, the same words over and over and over again. Korbano karat kesef achat, shloshim u'mea mishkala, mizrak echad kesef, kaf achat, asara zahav l'yaktor, par echad ben bakar.
There's one. That's not the same.
Yeah, what's that?
Which one?
You're welcome to.
You're welcome to dig.
There's one word.
Yeah, I said almost verbatim. Maybe in one day it says Vik Karbano, and one day Vik Karbano. One day it says Hikri Vik Karbano. That could be one of the differences. The question is, if we're supposed to study Torah with the law of conservation of space, as it seems to be the principle, that it's written in the most concise fashion, why all these words? One of the challenges of reading the Torah in Parshat Naso is that there's something inside sometimes that says, read the section quickly, because even if you're not well versed in Torah, you know the words are exactly the same words, so you know it from paragraph 1. Now we're reading paragraph 2, so read it quickly. And there's something inside me that says, no, that's not the way you're supposed to read the Torah section of Parshat Naso. Just the opposite. In our minyan, I don't know, Bezrat Hashem B'li Neder, in our minyan we try to read this very slowly and very deliberately. I think that Rabbanish is saying, and I want to emphasize this point, that so many people feel that which is significant has to necessarily be different than that which someone else is doing. In order for my offering, in order for my contribution to be real, to be special, well, I can't just give what you gave, because if so, how significant is it? How significant is it? It's very significant. It's so significant that the Torah keeps repeating it over and over and over again. Don't belittle the significance of someone else just because they're doing something similar to the other person's accomplishment. It's not insignificant to have a heart, just because Baruch Hashem, billions of people in the world have hearts. You know, that doesn't take away from the greatness of the brain, just because thank God, everyone is walking around with a functioning brain. I hope so. Yes, right. That's right. The Torah teaches us through this repetition that there is significance in each one, and each one perhaps brought it, with special feelings. There are many people who don't relate to a text of prayer, to a standard text of prayer. Open up the book and read these words. And one of the things that bothers them about a standard text of prayer is that everybody else is saying the same thing. If I'm praying to God, So let me say my own words. I have my own poetic style. I have my own needs. Let me express it in my own way.
It's not safe that way.
What? And many people, there are people who, God forbid, throw away the prayer book. I don't want a prayer book. He says Reinav Anyenu, she says Reinav Anyenu. I have to say Reinav Anyenu. You can be giving the identical donation. You can be going through the same exact series of offerings, but yet the offering of Nachshon ben Aminadav is not the offering of the Tanel ben Suar. The Tanel ben Suar can be giving the identical korban of Eliyav ben Chelon. But Eliyav ben Chelon is not Elitzur ben Shneur, who is not Shlomiel ben Suri Shaddai, who is not Eliasaph ben Deuel, who is not Elishama ben Amihud. Everybody can put their own feelings into it. And so many times for me, the 7th chapter of Bamidbar, the section of Naso that we studied this week, is an inspiration for my understanding of prayer. Because, prayer and sacrifices are interrelated, according to one tradition in the Talmud. Maybe when you have all these identical sacrifices coming from so many different people, leaders of the tribes, great people with great minds, maybe my paragraph of Et Samach David Abdecha Mehirat Tatzmiach, I could be saying the exact words that many hundreds of thousands, millions of people could be saying. But I have my way of reading it, and you have your way of reading it, and maybe it's a prism where the light shines differently, even if we're saying the same words. And maybe the teaching of the 12 repetitive paragraphs is to teach us that we don't have to necessarily bring different sacrifices to be different. We don't have to read different texts in order to be different. The kavanat alev, the intention of the heart, can be different from one person to the other. There's a certain level here of great humility, a certain great level of understanding, sensitivity to others. Now, it doesn't say anywhere explicitly in the text that there was a commandment of God that this is it, that this is the only offering they're allowed to bring. So if I was offering a sacrifice on the second day of the dedication ceremony, and I heard that on the first day they brought one silver bowl, well, I would get together with my people and I'd say, yesterday Yehuda, the tribe of Yehuda, they brought one silver bowl. What do you think? Okay, we're bringing 2 silver bowls. Yesterday they brought Mizrak Echad Kesef, 70 shekel. It was worth 70 shekel. We're going to up that today. And if they were bringing Par Echad and Ayil Echad and Keves Echad, we could do better than that. And each day we would try to outdo the person or the tribe before us. There's something very beautiful about the fact that they all understood that they could work together with the same type of sacrifice without necessarily, at least externally, outdoing the activities of anyone else. Maybe very often in competition, we try not only to keep up with other people, but sometimes we try to show that we have one up on them in all kinds of ways. You are experiencing tens and tens and tens and tens of verses of the Torah which sound the same. Yes, it sounds the same. Perhaps to teach you that ultimate levels of unity, ultimate levels of humility are connected perhaps to the idea that I don't have to outdo anyone else, that I'm happy with what I give, and I'm happy with what he gives, and I'm happy with what their tribe donated, without having to go beyond their level of contribution. Maybe the true elevation is when you're so humble that you're willing to allow others to express themselves in a similar kind of way, and you don't have to necessarily go beyond that, and you understand the greatness of your contribution, and at the same time the greatness of other people's contribution. And even though maybe you would want yours to be the only contribution of its kind, out of a sense of humility, out of a sense of dignity and mutual respect, you don't do that. There's a teaching in the 5th chapter of the Ethics of the Fathers. They describe there 4 different levels of charity donations, and they speak about different kinds of donations, different kinds of donors, different kinds of philanthropists. One category is the kind of person who wants to donate to charity, but is not interested in anyone else giving donations. Arba midot. The text I'm using is
Chapter 6.
chapter 5, Mishnah 16, but it could be their variation. Arba midot benot tzedakah. 4 different categories of people giving charity. One category is he wants to give, she wants to give, nobody else. I don't want anybody else's donation to be involved. You have a building campaign, wonderful. I'll pay for the whole thing. You need a certain kind of a project. I'll cover the whole cost. You need a certain budget. I'll take care of it. But nobody else. Says the Mishnah. The person who wants, they want to be the ones giving, but they're not interested in anyone else giving. Eino ra'ah b'shel achirim. They're begrudging the status of others. So maybe as they were giving, they were aware of the fact that other tribes want to be involved in this also, and that was part of their greatness. The Mishnah says, if you're on the level, if you're interested in donating, and you're also interested in other people donating, chassid! That's a chassid! That's a level of piety beyond. That's a great level. That means you're a very pious person. I would like to suggest that a possible reading of chapter 7 is, this is a personification of the teaching of Pirkei Avot. Harotzim sheyitenu, they wanted to donate, but not only did they want to donate, they wanted yitenu achirim. They didn't want to give all of the donations from their tribe. They wanted to leave room for other people's donations, and they even wanted to leave room that other people would be giving the same kinds of donations to show the greatness of the entire nation together. So there's great power in individuality, great power in individual expression, but sometimes when we're all doing the same, that also is great. And those of us who struggle sometimes for personal expression, feeling that if we follow commandments, and we're just becoming like one of so many, we're doing the same thing. I think a careful reading of Numbers chapter 7, especially from sentence 12 to sentence 70 or 80, 83, will open our eyes to new levels of understanding of how perhaps we can serve God on great levels, even if we're doing that which other people are doing as well. I do hope that God opens our eyes to a deeper understanding of Parshat Naso. And as we study this week and we read and reread the paragraphs of the donations, may this be the week of the dedication of the sanctuary of God. And those who want to bring the donations, you don't have to bring new donations that no one else is bringing. Maybe there'll be a pattern, and we'll be able to all bring it together successfully, happily, this particular.
Amen. 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 So, you want to see the hashkash this time?